Well, hello again. This is part 2 of trying to get this cabinet stripped so it can be restained and finished and all that. So far so good. This whole thing now is all glued up nice and tight and secure on both sides, which is the very bottom. And the next piece is this piece that fell off. It just wasn't, you know, the old glue just didn't hang in there. And like I said, it did get hit by the flood. And it's kind of in pieces. You can see it's all separated apart here, and it's going to be kind of a series of clamps and things. Got a lot of stuff to do here. It'll eventually be glued right to there. This piece here will have to be glued in first. We'll put that in and clamp it in. And of course, because the wood has shrunk over the years or changed position somehow, we have a little lip on this side, as you can see, right along the edge here. And over here we've got a lot of edge relative, you know, to the other side, but that's okay. It won't be noticed, and I'm not about to, you know, there is what I could have done was shaved this edge down here a little bit and pulled it in. I'm not going to do that. It's not worth taking a chance of messing it up. Nobody's ever going to notice it anyway once the stain and finish is on. And even if they do notice, you know something, I don't care. Let them notice. They can go look at someone else's radio if they don't like mine or they don't like wifey's. Anyway, I'm going to have to get this in there, get it as tight as I can, glue it down in, and then while it's in a clamp, I'll probably put a couple of clamps. Then I'll come over here and see what I can do about maybe pouring a little glue down in here and doing what I can. At least that's the plan. Well, I'm still getting lots of radishes from the garden, but we're getting down to the wire now. Maybe one more pulling and that'll be about it. I have another bowl of these in the refrigerator, and I gave a bunch of them away to a friend of mine. I just couldn't eat them all. There were so many. I can't believe it. This has been the most successful harvest of my life, I think. But I do have these. Now, for those of you who follow my videos, you know that Scott Johnston sent me a pack of watermelon radishes. I had no idea what they were, but out of all the radishes, we had these oddball types. So this must be, you know, the watermelon radishes. The rain had washed, I thought, all of them away. We got some heavy gushers right after I planted those radishes. And I'm getting a few of these beginning to pop up, so there may be a couple left, I don't know. We didn't get many. So, Scott, you need to let me know. Are these the watermelon radishes you were talking about? They just look like a mixture of white and red. I don't know. Be interesting to taste them anyway. I think the best way to get this thing glued in there, as far as application of the glue, is I always put the glue on a plastic thing like this. Use a paintbrush. It could be a smaller paintbrush. It doesn't matter. Just take it up in there, and then I'm going to put the paint put the glue all over inside with the paintbrush, everywhere it's supposed to go. Then I'll just go ahead and paint a little bit of a light coat on both surfaces and on the end, and then we'll just slide it up in there and clamp it. Nothing to it. The Arkansas sun does come in handy from time to time, especially when you're trying to, you know, make glue dry a little bit faster. We'll just let this sit out here. I had to put the glue, of course, not just where this block needed to be replaced, but all the way back, because if I didn't, once I clamped this in place, it would have been a lot more difficult. So I just spread it apart and dripped the glue down in there and ran a piece of plastic all down in there. She should be good to go now, I think. Let me see. Yeah, I don't see any movement there. Okay, we'll just let it sit, then later on we'll come back and do this other half that needs to be repaired. The next thing we have to work on, this, like I said, this is all glued in. We'll put that other piece on after it's all glued back together and clamp it down. It's just going to be a matter of gluing it in. I'm not going to glue it to the top. No need to do that. Just glue it straight to the bottom, clamp it nice and tight, maybe put a clamp here to hold it up against there, and we're good to go until it dries. Meanwhile, we have some very, very thin veneer here. This is about the thinnest veneer I think I've ever seen on a radio cabinet. My God, look how thin that stuff is. It's thinner than paper. Anyway, in order to glue it all down, I've got the same problem all along here. We're going to use one of these plastic strips, like I always do. We're going to, you know, put glue down in there, back and forth, back and forth. And we're going to do the same thing all the way along here. But first, before I do any of that, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to put the clamps on. You know, clamp it up dry. Don't put your glue in, then find out, oh man, how am I going to clamp it up? I can't fit the clamp in now. Don't do that. Clamp it up dry, and if everything works, then go ahead and set your glue. So let's see what I can do with that first. It appears that these clamps right here, the smaller ones, will work fine for clamping down this loose veneer here and along here. So good to go on that. The next question is this veneer along here. I'd like to get a clamp on the bottom down there where I can clamp the two together like that. But there's almost no lip there at all on the other side for a clamp. So I'm thinking maybe I can use this particular type of clamp for that. Let me remove these, play around with it and see what happens. Either way, I'll have to glue this first, let it dry, or glue this first and let it dry, then come back and do this. I can't do them both together. You know, doing this stuff it's almost like a Chinese puzzle. It takes a while to put it all together, but once you get it all together, it looks really good, but it takes a lot of patience. You know, if you're ever in a hurry, find another hobby, people. You're in the wrong one if you're in a hurry. The small clamps aren't going to work either. There's just not enough lip, even if I turn the red thing around so it's vertical on one side and horizontal on the other. It's just not going to work. So that only leaves us with one option. I'll have to slide the glue in there with the plastic all the way down wherever it's loose and let it completely dry. Then hit it with the iron and iron it down. That's the only option we have left. But before I do that, I'm going to try to get this to lay back down where it was originally. This peeled up on me. Why is this camera not working? Come on. There we go. It peeled up on me. I think I can lay that back down with a little glue. Just let it dry a little bit till it gets tacky, and then put a clamp in the corner or something. I'll figure it out. But this will have to be ironed. There's no way I can clamp it. There's just not enough lip on the other side. There's almost no lip at all. I could put wood on the inside, you know, but fit it up against there. It's just more of a pain. Just put the glue in, let it dry completely, and then iron it. Change number one. Instead of putting glue under there and clamping them down, except for this corner right here where that little sliver was, it's gluing down pretty good. It's pretty tight now. I'm going to let it dry a little bit longer. Instead of clamping these things, I mean, if I was going to slip glue down between the veneer all the way along here, then let it dry 100%, then iron it, what the heck? Let's just put it between these the same way. Let it dry 100%. We'll just iron the whole stupid thing. Then all we'll have to deal with is this part right here where the veneer is missing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've got some iron-on veneer, and I'm kind of hoping the thickness will match. If it doesn't, I'll have to sand it down. But if you sand it down, you wind up with a different color. So, you know, no matter how you stain it, it's always going to show up. Even if you tone it, sometimes it shows up. So, I don't know. I'll have to figure out something. I'll tell you what, while all that stuff is drying right now, let's take a quick look at my new and improved potato patch. It did stretch all the way down there, twice the length. I shortened it up, planted new potatoes, covered it up with the, you know, the necessary ingredients plus the straw. Guess what? Not a single potato plant has come up. This is the area, if you'll recall, where I planted some of Buzz 1151's camel dung potatoes. They must have tainted the entire bed, because I'm not getting a single one sprout out. Well, I appreciate that, Buzz. Thanks. I guess I should tell everybody what the potato business is with Buzz. We had a contest 3 years in a row who could grow the most potatoes. Now, he won the first 2 years, and the third year I swamped him. I took him to the cleaners. It was so bad, his wife beat him on the head with a rolling pin, sent him to the hospital. It was a terrible sight. He was bleeding all over. He claimed he tripped in the middle of the night and fell down. But we all know what really happened, don't we, Buzz? So this year there wasn't going to be any contest. I figured I'd shorten it up, and look what's happened. He grew his potatoes in camel dung imported from Saudi Arabia per Mohammed Rahim Al-Fassad, the guy that was supplying the camel dung to him. Unfortunately, Mohammed Rahim Al-Fassad has met an unfortunate accident and died. So, I don't know. I don't know what. Maybe I'll just leave them in there. Maybe in the fall they'll pop up. Maybe. I've got the old Teflon coated iron out here. I picked it up at flea market somewhere for $2 or $3. That's what you get when you need an iron for ironing veneer or something really, really, weird. Don't use the wifey's iron. Get one of your own. But this was like just, I think I paid $2 for this thing, maybe. I can't remember. But it is Teflon coated. Very important. Alright, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and iron. All of this is dry now on both sides. I'm just going to iron everything I see that even remotely looks like it's coming up, that I put glue down under, to include this piece right here that's lifted up. I noticed that was loose. I went ahead and put a bunch of glue under it, left it up. I'll iron it down now. I left it up till it dried. Alright, she's ironing down pretty good. We're just going to go ahead and go back and forth a few times, keep it level. Go nice and slow and easy like that, and both sides of that glue will melt and fuse the woods together. Now unfortunately there is a slight gap on the left and the right there, but there's nothing I can do about that. I'll try filling it in with a little, a little bit of wood finish stuff. What do they call that stuff? Filler wood? I can't remember what it's called. But we'll worry about that later. Right now I want to continue on down here. I've got this thing set for wool. It's pretty hot now, so you don't want to go crazy with it by leaving it on there, for 50 years. Get the stuff ironed, and as thin as this veneer is, it won't take a whole lot of time, Just go ahead and iron it right on down, slow and easy like. It'll heat it up. Now if you put it on there for too long, the glue will melt and the veneer will actually move back and forth, so you got to be careful. Now if that happens, just heat it back up and move it out of the way with your finger. Put it back where it was. One more thing here, you've got to keep downward pressure on that veneer when you're ironing it. You're not ironing a piece of cloth here. You got to press it down because you want both layers of that glue to melt. Take it, don't be going back and forth a lot with it. You're liable to catch some of the veneer. Just kind of remember that veneer will move if it gets too hot. Just kind of press it, slowly move it. Is it going to be perfect when you're done? No. Let me get over here and do this side. It will not be perfect when you're done. But like I said, this is a 90-year-old cabinet. What more can you expect, I don't want a radio that's this old to look like it just came off the assembly line anyway. That's just my preference. Other people want them to look like they were just made yesterday. I don't. To me, that doesn't look antique. It'll iron down very nicely. Now, in the process of ironing, especially when you have if you have a speaker area that has a lot of grill work, even after you think you've got everything covered, even after you get it all ironed, and in the process of ironing, you go, oh man, look at there. There's a spot I missed, which is what happened right here. We don't worry about such things. We just go back, we lay a little more glue in there, put it on your applicator, put it in there, let it dry, and once it dries, go back and iron again. See, it gives you an excuse to go in the house, have a Coke, maybe watch half a movie or something. I don't know. What do you want to do? This is a hobby, people. Now, if you're doing it for a living, I understand the time is money, but with us hobbyists, it's not time is money. Don't treat it like such. And now, as for the worn down shelf, and the worn down shelf here, I know how this happened now. Our good subscriber, Darrin Altieri. I don't remember ever seeing him come into our channel before. He may be a new subscriber. I just don't know. If you've been here before, Darrin, sorry, I just don't remember. I've had so many comments over the years. Anyway, I know what caused this, top and bottom. He said, now Darrin suggested that it might have been the power cord that rubbed right here. Well, as soon as he said that, I automatically knew what caused this. Down here was the speaker. Up here's the radio. 4 wires came from the chassis on the radio. There was a plug where it plugged in. They were supposed to go into this slot here and go down here to the speaker. But of course they came out of the slot and they moved back and forth, top and bottom, or they went this way and this way, where they coming in, and it wore those edges off. And of course right away my question was, my God, it must have moved a lot. What would have caused it to move so much? Was there wind blowing all the time or something? That's really weird. Now, he said that the power cord probably did this one. Well, if you look over here, we do have some wear right here. There it is, right there along this edge. That wear actually begins right here and extends all the way across to here. I don't know, that would have taken an awful lot of wear to, I mean, how could a power cord move back and forth so much to cause wear like that? Looks to me like somebody might have cut that out with a knife or something and beveled it over to keep the edge from cutting the cord. But you can bet it was caused by the power cord. The power cord probably also was to come through this slot and go out to where it was going to go, but it just kind of hung on down there and laid against the bottom shelf here and was plugged in that way. I think somebody cut this off to bevel it where it was being plugged into the wall to keep the insulation on the cord from being cut. That's what I think. Because those look like, look at them close. Do they look like knife gouges to you? You see, it's not smooth, you know, like this one here. See this one here? These are all fairly smooth. You can see where they've been, or they may have been beveled also. Maybe the guy that beveled these up here to keep the speaker wires, you know, it could have been some electronic repairman came to the house, or he took the radio in to have it repaired, and the guy said, you know, these things are really cutting into the wires. Let's bevel them down a little bit so the wires don't get damaged, the insulation. Because back in those days, they didn't have that. In 1931, they would have had more of a cloth kind of insulation on the wire. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, Darrin and me, that's our story, and we are sticking to it. The ironing is all done. Everything is down the way it's supposed to be. This ledge here is fixed. There was another one here that had to be done. And except for this area right here. Now this area right here and this area right here is missing the veneer completely. So if I can get a little focus here. There we go. Alright, better. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this out. And I'm going to trim the side. I mean, I'll trim it square, is what I'm saying. I probably won't do it here. I'll get as close as I can and wind up putting filler in there. And but I will trim it up square there. Now, a few years ago, I restored a stereo receiver, and I bought some veneer to do that with, and I never did use it all. I got a really good deal on this veneer, by the way, and it is very, very thin. So I'm going to trim out a piece, cut out a piece, and see if I can't fit it into here first. And then, if so, it's just iron on. You know, just iron that stuff right down. It's great. And even if it didn't iron on, it wouldn't matter. I just put the glue in, let it dry, and iron it on anyway. Well, we got pretty lucky. The thickness of the veneer that I had was almost exactly the same as the original. Just a little bit thicker. You see it barely catches the of course, a lot of it has to do with the wood swelling and everything else. But we'll get it to where it's down, at least to where it's even. You know, even if it's a little higher in the middle, it won't be seen if I can, you know, bevel down the edges a little bit. You know, smooth them down on both sides. It'll look good. And tomorrow I'll take my motor tool, we'll ream out all this extra wood that's on here and get it down to the grill work. And right now we're going to wrap up this video by, I'm going to glue this onto this. And tomorrow I have a little bit of veneer I have to glue down on the other side, and a piece that's missing has to be put in. And we need to do a little stripping on the other side. I didn't want to do the stripping off the radio. I need something to hold it in place while I do the stripping. I don't have anything to really hold it. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this around, remove whatever the excess is, clamp it down, and then we'll see what happens. Hopefully everything will be right. So until next time, we'll end this video here. This is John.